And welcome to today's edition of Horse's Mouth Live, the Extraordinary Advisor Show. My name is Ellen Rogin, and as always, I have fabulous guests to share information with you to help in every area of your life, especially your business. And I am so excited to have my friend Brandon Hatton on with us today. Brandon, I met through consultant Vince Kane, who's also been a guest on the show. And Brandon's a financial advisor in the Atlanta area, and he has a new book that just came out that I'm so excited about. It's so interesting and excellent, and I know how hard he's worked on this, or easy, or however it flowed for you, Brandon. And we'll talk about that, but what I most want to talk about today is Brandon's approach to the business, which I think is not our typical approach. He works with high net worth clients and has just a different viewpoint that we'll get into today. But let me give you a little bit about Brandon's background. Brandon Hatton is, you have letters after your name. I don't actually know what they mean. So let me just pause on your official one.
No.
Like, what's a CAP and a CRCP?
So CAP is a Chartered Advisor in Philanthropy.
Oh, cool.
And that was the one that came second. And the first one is Retirement Planning Council, Chartered, so funny, Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor, I think is what it was. We had to take it, part of the AMP, the PMD, whatever the acronyms they use to describe that training program in the big firm days.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so he's got letters after his name. He's quite experienced. He's an investment advisor representative. And you know what I love, and it's right in his bio, that he's an investment advisor who endeavors to help his clients live abundant, intentional lives. So, you know, what you won't hear in Brandon's intro is, I'm a trusted advisor, or like something that's just a platitude. But really, this idea of getting involved, not only in making sure, you know, his clients have sound investment strategies, of course, but really to live abundant, intentional lives. He specializes in family dynamics around multi-generational wealth, advises clients who seek to use their financial assets to help make a positive impact through investments and philanthropy. And now we know he's got a certification in that as well, which I love. He understands the constructive nature of wealth when family members are engaged and working collaboratively. Okay, before I'm going to stop on that because we're going to get into some of your background so I don't mispronounce anything else in our time together.
No worries.
But yeah, like, so we'll talk about like maybe a bit about the process of writing the book, Conscious Wealth. But what I really want to talk to you, because you have a different viewpoint than the average bear in terms of how you see money, how you see this process. And so I'm curious, like, what do you see as the purpose of money for people?
The purpose of money. Yeah. I think the most popular definition or purpose of money right now is that people say the purpose of money is to lead a certain lifestyle, or maybe the freedom or choice to lead a certain lifestyle. And I think around 5 years ago, I started hearing that definition a lot. And the problem with that definition is that lifestyle never ends. We've all seen it. If we're, as an advisor, we always say, oh, if I could just get to this amount of what they call in the big firms production, well, then I'm going to be set. But somehow by the time you got up to there, your lifestyle was probably 2x that. And that holds true for a lifestyle as well. So you can, if all you want to do, or if the only purpose we see of money is to transform it into lifestyle, you can get stuck. Yeah. So it's got to go beyond that. I say, you know, we just talked about this word before, is that as our financial balance sheets expand, so should the purpose of money, or so can the purpose of money. And so if we can get to a point where we say our lifestyle, whatever that is that we've decided upon, it's enough, or I feel comfortable with this, we can use any excess to transform money into something so much more than lifestyle. We can use it to create abundance in our lives. We can use it to transform money into purpose. We can transform money into the purpose of other people, which we like, impacting other people's lives positively. And then ironically, and I say ironically because it's not very common right now, we can use money to transform money into unity or to unify people. And all of that can be incorporated into our practices.
So when you have these kind of conversations, if that client gets referred into you and they're like, hey, I need help managing my portfolio, or I just had this liquidity event, like, how do you actually work to have this, I would say, deeper conversation with your clients? Is this something you kind of screen for up front and say, hey, like, if all you're looking for is an asset allocation, I might not be your guy? Or are you happy to take them on as clients? Or is this a process over time that you can have them realizing that their wealth can be more than just lifestyle for them?
Yeah, that's a good question, and something we're constantly thinking about and tweaking. I think at one level, we must always meet our clients where they're at. And so we sometimes have clients who have assets at a level that they're comfortable with, they're living this life of abundance, but they just need direction on helping it impact the world around them. And they also want to formalize some of this family governance structure. So that's pretty easy. Then we're going to meet them there, and the conversation's easy to have. On the other hand, sometimes we'll meet people who know all that exists, they want it, but they don't know how to get there. And they want to just make sure at first, like, the money part's taken care of. But they're on the cusp, and we know that if we introduce it to them, they'll get there. A great story I was thinking of yesterday while taking a walk was I had this client who we were sitting down with his attorney, and he said, I want to give away all my money. And we were like, awesome. Where? And he said, we're giving it all to the European Red Cross. And this was actually in Chicago downtown, and we're like, okay. And we were a little perplexed. Like, the European Red Cross has an interesting history. And also, it didn't really seem to connect with him, but we just said, sure, let's write it up. And then over time started introducing him to, well, I know you're really interested in innovation. How about we introduce you to this tech incubator for children at risk? Or what if, I know you're really interested in access to water. And so continuing to introduce that over time wherever they're at. What we do not do is try to convert anyone. If someone's like, money is money is money, and the highest returns are all I'm interested in, that's too hard of a lift, too heavy of a lift for us.
Yeah. So in an initial meeting with clients, do you share that you kind of have this more expansive view or process? Or is it like you just said, you meet them where they are and take them eventually where you think might be a higher, better good for them if it is? I'm hearing you're not making that decision for them. But I'm curious if it's part of a screening process or anything when you're working with people.
Yeah, they will normally screen out and yes, we do when we show them. So we have what we call a family matters document. And it is we started because we were working with this family and we started asking questions, and the matriarch said, and we're in Georgia, oh, honey, that's a family matter. And I said, well, that's a matter we need to know about. And so our family matters documents are that we post a family's values. We post the vision for themselves as a family, oftentimes called goals in our industry. We talk about what is their vision for the world. And then we have individual vision and values, right, for all the individuals within this family. And once we can get that established, then an estate plan and an investment plan and a tax plan and insurance plan and all these other things can come off of that. And when they see that's the document that we create, then they decide whether they want to do business with us, usually. Yeah.
So Brandon, if there's an advisor listening who's like, oh, that's great if you have like uber wealthy clients, but I have affluent clients, or, maybe they don't have that much. Do you think this kind of more expansive process only works for very high net worth or ultra high net worth people?
No, No, I would say that one, I typically don't lead. I stay committed to my clients, and I've been in this business since 2009. We've only lost, I think I've lost maybe 2 clients that I didn't want to lose. That was a surprise and a bit of a heartbreak. But by and large, the clients that I've picked up over the years are still with us. And this applies to the very first clients I had, who we still take care of and are dear to our hearts, and to as we bring on clients that are larger, so who have larger assets. The implications are deeper or maybe more profound outside of the family. Well, you know, we talk about change coming from within and being that change, and supporting people to be that change is equally important and can be done through these types of conversations about values and vision and where they want their money. And honestly, some of my most generous clients are our least wealthy clients. We've seen it time and again. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That makes sense. And that makes sense to me. So because you've been in the industry a long time, like, what do you see as the traditional value proposition in wealth management, and how might have you adapted that or switched or thrown that out in your practice?
Yeah. The traditional wealth management smiling value proposition is, if you give us money, we'll give you more, which is a terrible value proposition, because I'm promising something, if I follow that value proposition, that I can't provide. I cannot provide that. And moreover, it assumes that what that family is looking for is more money. And that's not necessarily what all families need. And I would say that the traditional wealth management, and I've worked in the traditional companies in the past, and I've been under that traditional regime, that their value proposition is, you need to make more money. I remember when we were in training, and they said, the first thing you can ask a prospective client is, what keeps you up at night? And I think that's a terrible first question. Like, who would go on a first date and be like, hey, what keeps you up at night? What's the worst thing you think is going to happen? But that is the traditional model within wealth management, particularly these old traditional companies, is make people feel afraid, and then they will find value in the services you provide. And that cascades not just into the rhetoric or in type of marketing, but it cascades into the way that we manage money. If we manage money in a way that our clients cannot understand what we're doing, then we're implicitly saying, you should be afraid of this. We've got this. And if we can manage money in a way that cultivates abundance, the opposite of fear, and saying, look, here's your statement. Here's everything you own. You know this stuff. And we see investing as a process and not a product. We as practitioners are allowing our clients to let go of fear. And that's hard to do, because traditionally what these traditional firms have been telling us is they need to be afraid, otherwise they won't do business with you. And if that's true, and if I say, well, I'm not going to make them afraid, then I've got to come up with a different value proposition. I have to give them something beyond fear to make them stick with me. I have to show that I care. I have to show that I want to know what's really important to them. It may not be the most amount of money as possible. I know a lot of people got trapped in 2008, 2009, swinging for the fences, and we may see that happen again, right? The markets aren't always going to go up. And not even really checking in with their clients to determine, is that really what you want? If the market is up X percent, do you really need to be up X percent? Or what is more important? And so the value proposition is traditionally, if you give me money, I'll give you more. And what I like to think of it is, if you give me money, let's find out what we can transform it into besides money. What else can we create with that?
You know, when you were saying about how the industry makes people scared, when I was a financial advisor, I worked deeply in the women's market and have, written a couple books kind of focused in that area. And what I see still over and over is this same thing. Like, well, women are in the workforce less and their Social Security's less, and they're going to, and on and terrifying them. And in our book, we wrote, like, that would be like you having a tennis coach saying, men are just better at, they're stronger tennis players and they're better at backhand and they're better at serving. So why are you even doing this? Like, this just doesn't make any sense. So how did you, I have kind of two-part question, Brandon, how did you come to these ideas? Like, what was your transformation? And how did you transform your practice, given that you've been at these bigger firms where everyone around you is doing things a different way?
Sure. So I think what I hear in your question is, how did I get to a point where I let go of fear around money? Like, how did I start to embrace abundancy, not just personally, but in my business? How did I get to a point where I could say, like, I have enough? It doesn't mean I'm never going to have more. In fact, usually you attract more when you can say that and believe it. And unfortunately, I got to it by having too much, right? Like, I wasn't like I got to this point and I said, oh, I'm good. I had to go racing right past it and realize that everything that I had valued in this, and because taking a step back, I went into financial services to make money and to have a career. I didn't go into it because I thought it would be an avenue to help people. It's just not what I had done that my first career. I was a teacher. I said, okay, enough of that being a good person and being poor. I want to not be a bad person, but I want to make money, right? And I was focused on this. It was like my first 401k in my 30s because I led this bohemian lifestyle, and I just went all in until I got to a point where I had lost myself within the financial services space. And it happens to a lot of people. And if you're as fortunate as I was, I had a bit of a health scare and realized, like, oh, I thought I didn't have enough money. I have plenty of money. I don't have enough health. I don't have enough of a relationship with myself. And it came in the form of I'd say a mild, it came in the form of a cancer scare. I had to have a biopsy, and I had a biopsy in my mouth, and I had to go back to work at this really busy firm, and I couldn't talk. And so, like, for the financial advisors, I recommend that you go into your office and not talk for a week without having to actually have stitches in your mouth. It's an interesting experience, and I learned so much by listening. I like the old adage is, a good financial advisor listens. I think I was pretty good back then, but I did not listen that much. And when I started really listening to everything that I saw around me and seeing the power dynamics and the way that the people I was working beside, I wasn't really happy. And then, the old adage is, if you spot it, you got it. I realized I had a lot of greed that I wasn't very happy about. I wasn't living outside or working outside the confines of ethics. I was being ethic. I cared about them, but I didn't care enough about myself. And it was very transactional. So within those 5 days, that set me off on a point of saying, I need to reprioritize my vision, my values. I need to think about how my business is going to be shaped. And while doing that, like, why not do that with the reflection of somebody else, like my clients? Why not do this with them and learn what theirs are? Because as a financial advisor, you have people who are successful in the world. They have somehow made it, and we all have these mentors around us all the time that we can pick up the phone and ask questions to. And it's a tremendous asset. And they're usually, oftentimes, a generation or two older than us. So they have some wisdom to pass on. And that was part of my journey getting there.
Yeah. So I love the way that you were able to take this really difficult situation and turn it into something not just better for yourself, but better for your clients as well. And I think that, there's this level. I remember when I first started as an advisor, and I didn't ever have like a mortgage I took out for myself. I didn't have kids. Like, it was harder to relate to some of those things. But having the life experiences that you have, I'm sure translate into a deeper relationship with your clients. So taking a step back, because someone also might listen to this and go, oh yeah, but he lost his edge. He was not focused on AUM growth or whatever it was back then. But my sense from knowing you and also what you've inferred in this conversation, that actually taking that step back from not just focusing on your income, but moving your attention kind of on the other side of the table to your clients. Did you see a transformation? Did your business actually grow more? Did it pull back when you did that? Or what was the result that you had?
Well, I'm going through that phase right now, actually, because the book just published 2 weeks ago. And so I'm kind of going through that phase now where I'm doing a lot of work that doesn't necessarily have a direct return of investment. There's not a really like sharp ROI on it. You can't just say, oh, well, because I did this is going to occur. So for instance, we just sent our clients all a copy of our book and wrote a handwritten note to all of them. And that has really solidified our relationship, my relationship with them. And I value that a lot. So we don't have a shortage of people wanting to do, how do I say this humbly? We're not looking to scale. I think one of the myths in this business, it's not a myth, but what I see to be very true is like, you can work at a business of a team of 2, 3, 4 people and be content. And if you want to design your life to be abundant and full of life, or you can get up to 15 and have the same thing. And so like, I'm happy where we are and being very selective on who we bring on, because I don't know how long I'm going to live. Like, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this. And what I don't want to do is get to the end of the line and think, God, like, I really missed out. Like, I was just so busy trying to build something when that something's already there. And if I embrace that, I just know business will come. I just know, and the right business will come. And I have the courage now, did not always have the courage, but I have the courage now to turn down the wrong business. And wrong business is just business that doesn't fit our model.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that answering the question?
Yeah. And it does take time to do that, but it also raises the question. So I know from personal experience, but also through talking through with you through your book writing process, this is not like necessarily an easy thing, although I'm starting my 3rd book and I'm trying to tell myself that it is an easy thing so I don't get overwhelmed with it. But like, why did you decide you wanted to write a book? Like, what was the goal? This is not, there's lots of investment and time and money that goes into writing a book.
Tremendous amount. So much time and money. Yeah, I was waking up at 5:30, 6:30. I wrote my own book. I didn't pay like a ghostwriter to do it. It was my life story. I had to. Now I had great editors. I originally wrote the book because I thought this is what's going to help me grow my business. And I got the book and I kind of like started to believe that less and less until I got the galley in my hand. And I'm just like, wow, this book's a lot bigger than trying to build my business. Like, I'm going to be on stage talking to 30 people. I can't bring on 30 new clients. I don't want 30 new clients. And I don't want to, as I said before, I don't want to build up this huge firm where I can dump 30 new clients. So if this book isn't about getting new clients, like, this book is about a message about generosity. It's a message about unity and humility that goes way beyond me. And at first it scared me, like, wow, I've got this message that's way bigger than me. And then you're like, oh, but here's the good news. If it's that much bigger than me, I can't screw it up. I can't mess this up. I just have to go out there and tell my story in relationship to this message. Feel incredibly fortunate to be part of the dialogue. And, it's part of my life's work now. And it's only been out 2 years, but it is me in written form. Like, that book is me. If you read it, and all the people that have touched my life, and that's part of my life's work. And business will come of it, but only because it's supposed to, only because that's what's going to happen, not because I'm going to intentionally design our marketing to do that.
I love the positioning behind the book in terms of, well, first of all, it's beautiful, and your website's beautiful on this. I really think, but it's also a book that speaks, it's kind of a narrowish market. Not that anyone couldn't benefit from this, but the subtitle, for those of you who can't see it because I hold it up so quick and the font's little, is Money, Investing, and a Financial Awakening for the Person Who Has It All. So someone struggling with credit card debt isn't going to pick up this book and go, oh, it's for me, not that they couldn't learn from it. So I think it's you're being clear on the people you have a message for. And again, not that it can't be for more, but I think it's really brilliant from both standpoints to make an impact with people who can make a big impact because they have financial means. And then also, even though it moved away from your goal, from a business perspective, I think it's kind of brilliant positioning, not in a manipulative way, but in a really authentic way. And it reads like that as well. And there's some really beautiful things as I was reading this that I pulled out and I'm like, oh, I love this. And one of the things you wrote, well, let me just ask you this, like, what do you see as the purpose of wealth management? Because I don't think we really touched on that.
So I think the purpose of everything is the same thing. So the purpose of everything, I don't know the quote in the book, but I do believe the purpose of money, of wealth management, well, the purpose of money is to help us become more loving and kind individuals. Like, that's the purpose of everything that we have. So wealth management should be to help people with money become more loving, kind individuals and families. Yeah.
Yeah, and they expand out that is that and make the world a better place. Like,
absolutely.
And I think, I love the stories in there and the focus that, most people don't go into it that way, but truly, and certainly the people you're attracting and the people I like to be in interaction with, that's something that they value. And if they don't, that's cool. They're just not necessarily the people that my message or your message is going to land with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they might not like the way that we manage money either, in the sense that, we could utilize, as one example, is a lot of leverage or a lot of sophisticated financial products with words that sometimes we as advisors don't even know, like swaps and stuff. We don't. Like we by and large, it's not in the clients that we're attracting's best interest. They don't want to be fearful of their money. They want to know what they own. They want that type of transparency. So the other client, they just may not be attracted to the services we provide, and it's okay. It's a big market out there. It's a big market in a short life, right?
Yeah.
So.
And the other question that I love for all of us listening or for advisors out there to be thinking about with their clients is, who are you without your money? Who are you without your money? Especially as people start to accumulate more and have a certain lifestyle, and there's this kind of clinging that can happen or attachment. I think it's such an interesting, beautiful question.
Yeah. Yeah, because what we use when writing this book, we use two words, consciousness and wealth. And consciousness being this idea that we are something beyond ourselves or beyond this human form. We have lots of different words, but whatever fits for you. We're beyond the human form. And money is the most human thing we have. Like, it is man-made. There's no money in the animal kingdom. There are no banks in the animal kingdom. And so as we expand and we let go of our fear around money, we ask ourselves, like, who am I really? And is my money bringing out that truest expression of who I am? Is my money just making me more comfortable, which is important? Because if you're uncomfortable all the time, it may be very hard to live a truest expression of yourself. But we also know there's like this diminishing point of returns with being comfortable. And that's probably one of the most common things we advisors get is how much money should I give my kids? I don't want them to be too comfortable, right? But we have to think about that in our own lives too. Like how much money am I going to use to just make myself comfortable? Or how much am I going to use to bring out my truest self? Who am I without this? Yeah.
I just went to people that stay in marriages because they're afraid of not having the money or the status. And that would be a really great personal growth question to ask too. Who am I without my money? If that's the reason I'm in or it could be a miserable job or a miserable relationship or all this, stress. So I think I haven't seen that question before, and I'm really appreciating it, Brandon. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So what a cool conversation to be able to talk more expansively about, that the money does flow through us. It's really part of every single thing we do. And I love that you're one of the thoughtful people out there expanding this conversation. So if people want advisors or for their clients to get a copy of your book, where's the best place to go?
So the direct link is consciouswealthbook.com, or it's on all of the major outlets, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all of that.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And I encourage you guys to read this. Great stories. Brandon wrote this. He's got quite a life experience that's woven throughout this book, which we didn't have time. We'd need a couple hours to go through all that to touch on, but it's really interesting. It's well written. And I also think you'll appreciate how he's expanded on the traditional way that advisors think about their business and wealth. So thank you for coming on and sharing this with us today, Brandon.
Well, thanks for your support throughout the entire writing process and all the work you're doing as well. Thanks, Ellen.
Yeah, great. And thank you for watching and listening today. Again, my name is Ellen Rogin. You can learn more about me at ellenrogin.com. And if you'd like to download my special report on what extraordinary advisors know that others don't, you could go to ellenrogin.com/horse's mouth. And the question to ponder today is, how big of an impact are you willing to make? Remember, be great and create great every single day.